All right. Thank you, Janika, for being here. The first question I would have for you, could you briefly introduce the company you work for and tell us a little bit about what makes you unique?
So I'm Janika from Once. So we are a global provider of IoT connectivity and software. And I guess what would make us unique in the market is that we are the only provider that offers a global flat rate. So that's how we stand out. And I guess what, from my perspective, what makes us even more unique is our growth path over the past 2 years. So I've been with the business for 2 years and started with 120 employees, I believe it was, and now we're at 450. So massive growth, and I don't think a lot of businesses in the market can kind of share that growth path like we did.
Very impressive. And I think such a quick growth also brings a lot of challenges, especially when you want to hire employees abroad. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about those challenges that you faced when you want to hire someone internationally.
Yeah. So obviously the growth plan was always there already when I joined, and initially we were looking obviously at local markets. So we did have 3 entities already when I joined the business. So one is in Germany, one is in Latvia, and the other one is in the US. Obviously if you look for people, very niche roles, sometimes as well, very tech related roles, then you're limiting yourself to a very talented pool in those 3 markets predominantly. So our thinking was at some point, okay, we had an FTE plan or growth plan of up to 150 roles to be hired in 1 year. So it's very difficult if you just look at 3 local markets and to find the right people in those markets. So that's how we decided, or why we decided, we need to get talents from across the borders globally, and that's how we kind of got into the EOR game, let's say.
Cool. And I think this was something I heard a little bit in our first conversation that we had, that like, especially with the Japanese entity, I think you also somehow closed the bridge, right? With using an EOR provider until maybe you can tell a little bit about that as well.
So we were then expanding to Asia, and then we figured out we're going to set up an entity in Japan, in Tokyo. So obviously the setup, you would probably know that yourself from your business, it takes a lot of time, a lot of paperwork, and once you have the entity set up, obviously you need to look at the employment contract. So we knew we want to expand into that market, and we had people already started the recruitment process, but the contracts and the setup was not ready when the people could start. So for us, again, it was very much a no-brainer to use an EOR setup temporarily for a couple of months until this entity is fully set up. We have our employment contracts, everything is good to go. So in that case, we had around, I think, 5 people it was back then who were run through an EOR company for 2 or 3 months, and then we shifted them over to our own entity. So it was great, by the time the entity was fully up and running, those people were already, they knew what they were doing, they were on board and all of that. So it was just very smooth sailing for us from that stage onwards.